Okay, good evening and welcome to chapter 30 of The Living Marriage as we continue with this amazing book. I'm not sure what I'm going to do for the next book. I think I'm thinking about doing this book called The 10 Dumb Mistakes Even Smart Couples Make or something like that, Ben Zeno Schaefer, about shalom bias, things outside the bedroom. Because I think at the end of the day, from the fact that very few people are actually listening to these lecture series, which I think is the most um, is the most exciting, lecture you'd ever want to hear. I mean, if there's any, a person gets up to speak or he writes that he's going to give a speech somewhere and he writes speaking of marital intimacy, he gets double or triple the amount of people he normally get. So I'm shocked that people are not listening to this. And add to the fact is that I actually get into the nitty gritty and I talk about telling you true opinions about this thing. And I'm not afraid to say my opinion and to talk about the raw facts and the raw nature of this topic, where other people are very uncomfortable talking about it. I saw there was one of these YouTube channels that had someone talked about intimacy or something like that. It was so awkward. These people, it was like two people. It was a couple interviewing some psychologist, psychotherapist. These psychotherapists. They talk about everything from a Freudian perspective. No, give me the facts. Tell me, it's like I didn't even listen to it. It was hard to listen to. It was just the couple we're interviewing was just awkward, and the person who doing the interview, he was awkward also. I don't think they talked about anything interesting. I was trying to speed through it to see if there was anything interesting they said. It was just boring, boring, boring. You listen to my share of any part of this book. It's interesting, interesting, interesting. But people, I think they don't listen to it because they're probably shocked by what I said if they listen to. So they probably turn it off. So they need something, more relatable, like Shalom Bias, that has no impact really on your marriage. I said many times, at least 98% of your marriages depend on the bedroom, 2% about Shalom Bias. But 98% of what people speak about in marriage is Shalom Bias, and 2% is what they speak about intimacy, maybe even less than 2%. So maybe that'll be the next book. But today we're doing chapter 30. Chapter 30 is titled The Husband's Rishus. We talked in chapter 29 about the woman's Rishus, meaning what a woman is not necessarily mitzvah you have to do for the woman, but the woman would want, right? Not everything. We discussed that, in general, that a woman, there's really not one thing that a woman wants. A woman wants to be happy. She wants to be happy. You want to make your wife happy. She wants to feel loved. There's many different ways of doing it, and you have to try to do as many ways as possible. Now, he's going to talk about it from the husband's perspective. Rishus means, it's non-obligatory. So obviously he's talking about a case where the husband does not have an obligation to be together with his wife, meaning it's not ona. He fulfilled his ona. He was with his wife twice a week. It's not talking about the mikvah night. It's not talking about a case where he's going on a journey. It's not talking about a case where his wife shows him she's interested in being together. None of those apply. The husband is doing it. Why? Because he's disgusting. Because he wants to be together with his wife. He's a taivatika person. This whole chapter is based on a Ravid, Menorah Samaor. I'll read you a little bit from this Ravid. Umatzinu derech acheres reviz. We found the fourth way. I'm going to read it in Hebrew because it's more authentic in Hebrew. I don't always trust it, the way he translates it. Shein ba'akas misholosh kavanah shehei mitzvah. Right? I don't know the first part of this that he was going, the paragraph preceding this, where he's talking about the three types of mitzvah. I presume he's talking about whether you're chayav for ona, or the night of the mikvah, or because you see that your wife is in the mood. Those are the times when you're in mitzvah to do this. Aval hi rishus. V'hi ma'acha. What's the fourth time that you would engage in relations with your wife? Ma'acha shagavar lav ta'avaso. V'goder atzmo b'ishto she muteres lo. He has a desire, an overwhelming desire for his wife. So, and he's together with his wife. Goder atzmo b'ishto. Kadei shelo yisavel iser. He shouldn't come to be with another woman. That's forbidden to him. He was able to get away from doing Isser, meaning to go with another woman who's not his wife. I don't know what he says. Obviously, this is b'diavad. It would be better if he broke his Yetzer Hara. Break your Yetzer Hara. Being together with your wife is disgusting. If you're not doing it for a mitzvah, if you're not doing it to make her happy, to fulfill your obligation of ona, it's a taiva. Aval and Kozak came on Jeno Maksha Atzmo Das, Ela im Ones Hatava Miskavan the Gadar Atzmo, Shloyavol de Ister Bestapik Menaheter. Right? The only reason he's doing this is he shouldn't come to stumble upon Ister. Machasheno Yachal Lichbosh as Yotzer. He can't conquer his Yetzer Hara. Yeshlo Schar Kamisha Bal Yadod Varavero Pirish Vimena. He has reward for what he's doing, right? An Avera came to her hand, then came, you're about to do an Avera, and you ran away from it. And partially, right, he broke his Yitzhar. The best thing would have been, right, if he could have avoided the situation at all and not been together with his wife. But he realizes that if he's not together with his wife, it's going to lead him astray and he's going to go after other women. So it's better to be together with your wife, but the best thing would have been if you're a big tzaddik and you could hold yourself back and only do it when there's a mitzvah. There's ona, or there's a mitzvah of night in mikvah, or there's a mitzvah of you're going on a long journey, or there's a mitzvah of you see your wife is in the mood. If none of those exist, it's better not to. And this whole chapter is based on this premise that the Ravid is telling you the truth. This is the truth of the Torah. This is what the Torah wants from you. And what he does in this chapter is he tells you to explain the Ravid, and don't make a mistake and say, always be a hero and try to break your Yetzer Hara, because he brings some examples from the Gemara. He brings the Gemara in Ksuvos. The Gemara says, even Rava was one of the biggest Tanaim, Amorai, Abaye, who was his contemporary, passed away, and his wife, Abaye's wife, Choma, she caused problems for a lot of men, this woman. She came to Rava, she wanted to get some money from Abaye's estate. While they were discussing something, she happened to pick up her arm, and her forearm, or this part of her arm, was exposed. And Rava became so attracted to her, he ran home. He didn't even adjudicate the case. He ran home and summoned his wife to be together with his wife, even though it was during the day. He says this, the author, it was during the day, and better not. We're going to learn. We've learned, or you've probably heard, it's better not to be together during the day. He was a big tzaddik, so tzaddikim are allowed to be together and they have to cover themselves. No other people are not allowed to be together. So he did the right thing. He says the same thing about Yitzchak Avinu. Yitzchak Avinu, it says in the pasuk that Avimelech saw Yitzchak was misachik his wife, and Rashi brings there. He says that he was together with his wife. He saw through the window they were having fun together, right, in the bedroom. How could he see this? They didn't have electricity back then. So it was during the day, but Yitzchak, he was doing it because he needed to do that at the time. He's bringing that even big tzaddikim, who we would think are able to conquer the Yetzer Hara, for them it's also a challenge, and therefore they had a good balance and were able to figure out when was it absolutely necessary to give in to their Yetzer Hara, and when they could actually conquer the Yetzer Hara and abstain from being together with their wife, even there was no mitzvah. If there's no mitzvah, the best thing to do, if you're a big tzaddik and you reach the highest level, you'll abstain. If you haven't reached the highest level, then it's better to give in. Or even if you have reached a high level, in certain circumstances, you have such strong desire, you give in to that desire. So that's the whole premise of this chapter. To try to figure out, as a person, when to give in, when not to give in. The Ravid is true. Best thing to do is to conquer it. But if you can't do that, then at least give in and conquer Yetzer Hara and don't go after other women. And that's what he says at the end of the chapter, that the whole point of this is that you shouldn't go after other women. And the true marriage, he says, a true marriage is when man uses his wife. He says, he brings from the Sefer Achinuch, who says that the whole point of Shana Rishona, right, there's a mitzvah of Shana Rishona, V'simach Hasid Ishto, is because when you're together with your wife for a whole year and you spend time with her, so then you become habituated to your wife. And he says, he comes so accustomed to his wife, to spending so much time making his wife happy for a year, he's habituated to his wife. He doesn't want any other woman in the world. And he says a person, this is what the author says, a person, based on various sources, a person who uses this balance right, he's able to decide when to be together with his wife and when not to be together with his wife, and only be together when what's absolutely necessary. If he does it in the proper way, he will come to a state where he won't desire other women. Even if his wife is not pretty and there's prettier women out there, it doesn't make a difference. He will only desire his wife, and that's a true marriage, and that's true unity, and that's the whole point of marriage, is create this unity between man and a woman, completion, and that is the end of the story. I'm flummoxed. There isn't one thing in this chapter I agree with. If you listen to any of my other earlier chapters that I've talked about this premise, this is also, it's rooted in the words of the Shulchan Aruch. The Shulchan Aruch many times says, he says in Simon Reish Mem, I think, 240 Orach Chaim, also in Even Ezer, Simon Chaf Aleph, I think Chaf Beis or something like that. He says that a person should look when he's together with his wife, even when he's doing the mitzvah ona, like he's parei achov, he's paying off a loan, right? No one wants to be in debt to someone, but you have to pay off a debt. Don't do it for your enjoyment, Don't do it for your enjoyment. Even the author says the enjoyment that you should have when you're together with your wife is the enjoyment that aids and abets the unity. You want to unify with your wife in the bedroom. It's not about enjoyment, it's about unification. That's the authors maintain throughout this book. To me, this is why you get married. You get married so you can enjoy your wife whenever you want. You shouldn't look at it, and he talks about it's a responsibility not only of the man, but also of the woman. That the woman has to make sure that the husband feels comfortable, even when it's just for him to be okay, right? They should talk about it. He says they should talk about it. The husband and wife should talk about it. And here, a husband must explain to his wife what this topic is about, and the serious consequences of not approaching correctly. Often a wife might have no idea about her husband's challenges, and therefore he needs to patiently explain to her that she is also part of this process. She should not be embarrassed. This is a process of maintaining holiness in this world as the couple unites to guard their holy bris. She's part of this as well because she has to know that it's hard for the husband, and she has to be willing to be there for her husband when he's weak. He's a weak man. He needs his wife. No. This is Christianity. This is not Judaism. Judaism believes that being together with your wife, sexual intercourse, is a great thing. And if you're a man and you want to be together with your wife, not during the mitzvah of Ona, and not when it's the chiyuvim for your wife, you should be praised for that. You're doing what the Torah wants you to enjoy this world. And he talks about doing it for physicality. It's not taiva. No, this is not taiva. Taiva is the opposite. Taiva, the word tava comes from, when the Torah talks about boundaries, the boundaries of Eretz Yisrael and Sefer Devarim. Tav is a boundary. Taiva is when you're creating boundaries for yourself. There should be no boundaries over here in the bedroom. There should be no boundaries. When you want to be together with your wife, you should be together with your wife. You should be. That's part of a great marriage. A real man, a real husband, it's not a weakness when he has a desire for his wife. It's a sign, and the woman knows this also. If a woman feels that her husband's doing this, right, he's only doing ona and these mitzvahs in order to make his wife happy. And when he has to do it, it's a weakness. He really doesn't want to do it. She's not going to feel happy. She wants, just like a woman has a huge desire for the bedroom, she wants to feel that her husband also has an equally base as her, right? Equally immoral, not immoral, equally human and earthly as her. That's what makes a woman happy with her husband. And she looks favorably upon a husband who can lower himself to her level. Just like a woman, that's the way the poskim speak about a woman. She's emotional, she's gashmias, she needs this stuff. You do it for the woman, you pay off a debt to her. And the man, he's holy, he doesn't need this. It's a weakness. If he can't control himself, fine, but otherwise not. The woman, a woman who's married to a man like that, she's not going to be happy with her husband. She's going to say, "Oh, I'm married to the tzaddik over here." She's not going to feel a connection. She's not going to feel a relationship. They'll never share an intimate connection between them. She's not going to tell him her secrets. There'll be no marriage over there. You think they could be married? They can be married happily and married off all their kids and have a beautiful family, a beautiful grandchildren. But they'll never have their own marriage. They'll never be married because a woman. It's called a relationship. Any relationship. Marriage is a relationship. And relationship is from the word relate. You have to be able to relate to the other person. You have to be on the same level as the other person. And a man who ignores himself, ignores his natural desires, this isn't, ignoring, it's like, ignoring your desire to eat. We're going to say someone who's hungry, it's better if he would, not eat, not eating. No, if you're hungry, Even if you go and you're hungry and you want to have some rugelach or something like that, there's nothing wrong with that. I don't believe in this concept of taiva with foods and stuff like that. You know, I mean, it's dangerous if you're eating a lot of food, and you're gonna becoming overweight. You don't look good, and it's unhealthy. You're eating a lot of food. You can't control yourself. But you know, if you really have a desire for something, right, you should enjoy it. Go ahead and enjoy it. So same thing in the bedroom. All the more power. You should enjoy it and love it. And if you're a real man, ask for it. Not ask for it. Just tell your wife you want to do it, or show your wife you want to do it, and your wife will be happy. Your wife wants you to want it yourself, and not to look at it as like you're um you're doing a favor for her, or you're giving in to your weaker side. No, no. The woman wants you to be just as base and just as earthly and just as down to earth as she is. So that's what makes a good husband. And if you're ignoring that and you're thinking it's a bad thing, ideally it's better if I would be able to break my taivas, break my inclinations, but I have to give into it. Even if you're able to calibrate it properly, like the author says, and know exactly, just like Rava knew exactly when he needed to be together with his wife, even during the day. No, I don't think that's the right approach. The right approach is that there's no balance over here. I hear from so many people in Judaism, it's a balance between the physical and the spiritual. No, no, no. The spiritual is the physical. It's the same thing. That's what God wants. It's a physical world. The spiritual is just to use the physicality to enjoy the physical in the best possible way. That's all spirituality really is. It's just to enjoy the physicality in the most best possible way, because a person who doesn't know what foods to eat or doesn't know how to cook is not going to enjoy the world as much as someone who does have gourmet food. So you have to know, and this is knowledge. In the bedroom, you have to learn about the bedroom to know how you enjoy, what you enjoy in the bedroom, how you enjoy it in the bedroom the most, and that's a learning curve. Yeah, you have to do that. Unfortunately, people rush into marriage. You should also look into which type of women you're attracted to, because that's really important in marriage. To know that you're attracted to your wife. The second part of what he discusses over here, that he says that a person, he brings from Sefer HaChinuch, someone who is happily married and they calibrate this balance correctly, they're only together with their wives when it's absolutely necessary. They will not have a desire for any other woman, even if the other women are prettier. It'll quench their thirst for women, and they'll be happily ever after. Apparently, there's marriages like that. There is no marriage in the world. Any man who's honest with himself, even if he's married to the most beautiful woman in the world, it doesn't make a difference. After a couple months, even not even a whole year, men will always desire other women. That's just the truth about it. Men will always desire other women. A woman, if she has a great husband, which is hard to find, has a great husband that she respects and is a real man, is a real alpha male, she'll be happy with that. A woman could be happy with one man. It's very uncommon, hard to find a man like that. But men want more than one woman, no matter if you have the best marriage in the world. Now, it doesn't mean you should go and cheat on your wife and be together with other women, because that is going to ruin your marriage. And your wife, it's called cheating for a reason, because you're not allowed to do it, because it ruins your marriage. Women don't want you to be with other women. That's why you married them. But to ignore the fact that men desire other women, even if they have the prettiest wife in the world, they get, just like the Sefer HaChinuch said, they get habituated to it. That's what happens. Anything good in the world, you have ice cream, vanilla ice cream 100 times, you get sick of it. You want a different ice cream. You want a different food. So the point is that men like variety, and that's why the Torah really believes in polygamy. That's really what the Torah believes in. I mean, I was just speaking with somebody who came, someone who just got engaged, and we were talking about this, and we were talking about the shidduch crisis, because I gave a lecture about an episode about the shidduch crisis, the financial aspect of the shidduch crisis. How do you solve the shidduch crisis in the world? And I was basically telling him my theory is that, what everyone says is that there's more good girls than good boys. It's very hard to be a good boy. You have to be a really, a guy who learns all the time and be someone with an outgoing personality. And with girls, it's very easy to be a good girl. You just have to want an avrei. It doesn't work like that. There's too many good girls, very few good boys. That's ultimately the problem with and the way of solving the shidduch crisis. How do you solve the shidduch crisis? You educate the boys that it's okay to be a working boy, and you educate the girls it's okay to marry a working boy, and that's the problem. But then he said at the end, he says, no, the real answer to the shidduch crisis is polygamy. And I said, yes, I agree with you 100%, but I can't, we're not even at that point to discuss it, right? You're not even at the table to discuss it. First, you have to say what the potential obvious answer is, the seemingly surface answer, which most people could, once you tell them that's true, they'll probably agree with you that's what's true, the salient answer. However, the ultimate truth of the Torah is what the Torah says polygamy. Rabbeinu Gershom did 1,000 years ago was Horasha. It was something against the nature of the Torah. The Torah didn't forbid polygamy. The Torah allows polygamy, and Torah wants polygamy, and all the Masechtas in Nashim talk about having more than one wife. The whole premise of Masechtas Yevamos is based on having rival wives. All the cases of Masechtas Yevamos talk about that. So that's the assumption, right? The assumption is you have multiple wives because the Torah recognizes that a man needs more than one wife. Now, I will say, he said jump to polygamy, and the reason polygamy is the way it'll solve the shidduch crisis is because at the end of the day, right, you'll say, okay, like I said, make all the boys working boys and the girls want working boys. At the end of the day, it's true. There really are fewer good boys than good girls, but not because good boys are learning and learning stark, and the girls just all have to do is want a learning boy. It's deeper than that. Is that there's very few real men. This is not just in the frum world. There's very few alpha males, right? An alpha male, like Andrew Tate, if you know who Andrew Tate is, Donald Trump, people like this, command a lot of women because there's very few men that are confident enough in themselves, and that's the ultimate way to attract a woman is to have a strong personality, and being a strong personality is believing in yourself more than anyone else, to be the most confident person you can be. Of course, being cool is almost impossible to be confident and cool also. There's a lot of people that are confident, not cool, so I think I'm the only person like that. So, but that's a major attractive woman. Women like alpha males. They'll do anything for alpha males, They want alpha males, and men or even beta males, right? Women don't want these men, and when they're married to them, they know they're ruling over their men. They're more powerful than them. They want to be subdued by a man. They want their man to be more powerful. Only alpha males or a sigma male could be more powerful than a woman. So the truth is, like this person said, he's getting engaged. It's not the right saying. So when I told him I agree with him, he's like, what do you tell your wife? I say, I don't say this to my wife. I don't say I believe in polygamy, and I'm not a person who's going to practice polygamy right now, because right now, I hope one day in the future someone will come and fix this problem that we have. I think Rabbi Gershom expired, and I think, obviously besides Judaism, there's a problem in, Western society where it believes in monogamy, right? Only in the Eastern Hemisphere, is it okay to have more than one wife in Arab countries and things like that. But in the Western world, monogamy is the given, right? And that's not the right idea. That's not for the Torah perspective. The Torah perspective is you're supposed to have many wives, but you also have to provide for them, right? There's two things that make it very difficult to be successful in polygamy. For a lot of things, actually. If you want to have the right to be able to marry to more than one wife, I think that's the best thing, because there's plenty of people out there like Andrew Tate who are not married, and they have multiple girlfriends maybe at the same time. But the advantage of being married as opposed to being, not married and with a woman is that marriage is stability, right? When you're with a girlfriend, you always have to be your best. You always, because once you start being okay, and start being average, so then she's gonna want to leave you. But marriage is a contract, and there's stability there, and you always have your wife, specifically for the bedroom, even when you're not your best, even when you're sick, even when you're not doing your best, you're going through difficult times, your wife is always there for you. That's what the great thing about marriage is. It's a contract between the man and the woman, right? Whether it's bad times or good times, you'll always be there for each other. So if you want to be with multiple women, the answer is not to have multiple girlfriends at the same time, which is very difficult, but also it's to have multiple wives or concubines, and that is the Torah's way of mastering the law. It's really having a good life, But again, you have to be able to finance all these. You have to pay for them. You have to treat. You have a ksuva for all of them. You have to give them, the basic necessity of a ksuva. You have to be strong enough to fulfill intimacy to keep them all, happy. Sipu kaichi, to make them happy, which is part of the ksuva. So you have to have enough strength to deal with, multiple wives. You have to have be a wealthy man to be able to finance multiple wives. And the hardest part is that you have to be able not to insult every wife. When you're with one wife, you don't talk about the other wife. The other wife doesn't exist. Other wives don't exist. The only person that exists when you're that person, you never talk about it. When I was dating in the beginning, I was always debating this. Like, I didn't have what to talk about. I was learning all day. So the only, contemporary information that I had about the world that I could talk about, which was relatable, my experience was dating other girls, previous girls. And I'd always, wonder, should I be talking about the incident that happened when I was dating the previous girl? And for some reason, I was given and talk about it. And I wondered for many years, is this the right thing? No, it's absolutely the wrong thing. When you're with one girl, they do not want to hear about another woman. They are so jealous. Women are jealous of each other much more than men are jealous of each other. Women are jealous. It says by Chava, right? She'd rather be dead than have someone else. I forgot exactly what Chazal say than a rival wife. She didn't want Adam Arishon to be with anybody else, even though there was no other woman out there. She was jealous of anything. Women are jealous of anything, and if you're going to be with multiple wives, you have to be very discreet. Obviously, if you're in a polygamous relationship with multiple marriages, they know, and it's official. I think that's important to know. It's not called cheating. It's official. Cheating, the other person doesn't know about the other person. Usually, even if you have one girlfriend, you're going to cheat on another girlfriend because they don't want you to have a relationship with the other person. To have an open relationship, there are people nowadays with open relationships where they both agree we're going to be with multiple partners. That's important that you know you're with other partners. But even if you're in an open relationship or a polygamous relationship, multiple marriages, you have to be able to concentrate on that woman when you're with her, and she's the only woman in your world when you're with her or when you're talking to her. There's no other woman. Don't even mention another woman. Tangential. Don't mention a story with them because they'll read into it a million times. So it's very, very difficult. Besides the fact that Judaism currently forbids it, and the way we observe Judaism, and Western society forbids it. So it's almost impossible to have. But to the polygamous relationship, or at least be married to multiple women, but to deny this and say this is not the truth. That men, the good marriage, will not desire other women is a complete lie. Men will always desire other women, even if they're married to the most prettiest woman in the world. So there's a lot of pretty women in the world. You know that there's a lot of pretty women in the world. Men have eye candy. They see a pretty woman in the street, whether they're from or not from. It doesn't make a difference. They're attracted to them. They want the other woman. Now, if you're a real man and you're married, you should be able to control yourself and be a good husband and control yourself. Because if you go with the other woman, you're ruining your own marriage, and the other relationship's a fling. It's not going to work out. So you're ruining your life, basically. So don't give into it. But that's just, the reality. But to ignore the reality and say that a man doesn't desire other women is not true at all. 100% false. And the last thing I'll add in is that, we've talked about this before, but, this whole chapter is based on the premise that the mitzvah of Ona is for the women. But I mentioned before, I'll just reiterate it here again, is that, yes, there's a mitzvah to make your wife happy, the night of the mikvah, when you see that she's in the mood for it, to do what you want, to give her an orgasm, to good foreplay, hug her in the house, give her kisses, all these things, even outside the bedroom. But the mitzvah of Ona is for the man, and that's really what this chapter should be about. The mitzvah of Ona is the man has a right to his wife. He has a right to be together with his wife without the foreplay and without the afterwards or during providing orgasm for his wife. He has a right to do that because men don't want to do that all the time. That's for the woman. And a man, deep down inside, he just wants to be together with the woman, have a couple minutes of foreplay, be together, and be over. And a man has a right to that. And that is the mitzvah of Ona. Ona is from the word of causing her pain, because you cause her pain. But a man has a right to his desires as also. And therefore, depending on the strength of the man, how often he's capable of doing Ona. So therefore, he has that right, whether it's every day or twice a week. And that is the mitzvah of Ona, which I mentioned many times, is the right of a man. right? He has rights also, you know. He has the right to fulfill his desires also. And that is usually twice a week. So you should know that also. That's the conclusion of today's chapter. I hope you enjoyed. See you in the next chapter.